When did you first receive recovered crash materials from the US government to study in greater detail? What trademarks or patents have you received as a result of such work on recovered exotic materials? Are you now, or have you ever been, withholding information from the public regarding unidentified aerial phenomena? We'll be asking all those questions and more on this week's episode of the Ask an Alien Project. Join us, won't you? Hello et bonjour, and welcome to this week's episode of the Ask an Alien Project. The goal of our project is to compile a list of the questions that we as a species would like to ask of an extraterrestrial if we could sit down and have a conversation with them. Not just how fast does your spaceship go, or where do you come from, which are all interesting questions, but moreover, the historical, sociological, and cultural aspects of alien life. Now, you may ask, how can we study aliens, extraterrestrials, and UFOs if we don't even know if these things exist? Well, you're right, we don't know, but we're getting closer and closer every day to finding out. And when that day comes, we had better be ready. In this week's episode, we're going to be examining how shareholder activism can lead to disclosure from major aerospace and defense corporations regarding unidentified aerial phenomena. So you might be wondering, why aren't we focusing all of our attention on government agencies such as Congress, the Navy, Air Force, FBI, CIA, and those sorts of agencies? Well, there's lots of people working on achieving disclosure from those agencies through Freedom of Information Act requests, contacting their elected representatives, and other advocacy. But as far as we can tell, no one is currently using a perfectly legal and long-standing method of compelling very large corporations to tell the public what they know regarding a given subject. And in this case, that subject is unidentified aerial phenomena and UFOs. Government agencies aren't the only ones dealing with UAPs. Major aerospace companies are rumored to be involved as well. Someone has to do the reverse engineering of recovered crash materials or other exotic items recovered that may be of non-human and non-terrestrial origin. Who better to do such work than major aerospace and defense corporations? It's far more cost-effective for the government to outsource their flying saucer analysis and reconstruction to companies that deal with metallurgical properties of airframes and other technological flight research all day long. The late Nevada Senator Harry Reid claimed that defense contractor Lockheed Martin may have had fragments of a crashed UFO in its possession. Senator Reid, then aged 81, told The New Yorker in 2021 that he had never actually seen proof of the remnants, but was rebuffed in his efforts to get Pentagon approval to find them. Harry Reid was the longtime senator from the state of Nevada, the home of military base Area 51, which itself was long rumored to house UFOs and possibly even live aliens. Senator Reid said, quote, "I was told for decades that Lockheed had some of these retrieved materials. And I tried to get, as I recall, a classified approval by the Pentagon to have me go look at the stuff. They would not approve that. I don't know what all the numbers were, what kind of classification it was, but they would not give that to me." The top corporations most likely to be involved would have to be leaders in the defense and aerospace industry, with many pre-existing top-secret government contracts. Some of the likely companies could include Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Bigelow Aerospace, SpaceX, and most interesting of all, Lockheed Martin, the manufacturers of the F-35 Lightning fighter jet and other first-in-class air defense air superiority systems. Of the 6 companies we've mentioned, 4 of them are publicly traded. This means that their shares are traded openly on public stock exchanges, like the New York Stock Exchange, and are accountable to their public shareholders. Furthermore, they must follow all the Securities and Exchange Commission rules involving the reporting the true nature of their finances and activities to the public every year in annual general meetings. Now you might be thinking, what does all this have to do with unidentified aerial phenomena, crashed UFOs, and disclosure? Well, we're glad you asked. Because what we're talking about doing is using the very same legal mechanisms available to the public to ask challenging questions to any corporation in a very new and focused manner, specifically towards aerospace companies that may be involved in analyzing anything that has to do with unidentified aerial phenomena. Shareholder activism is a way that share owners can influence a corporation's behavior by exercising their rights as partial owners. While minority shareholders don't run the day-to-day operations of a corporation, several ways exist for them to influence a company's board of directors and executive management actions. These methods can range from dialogue with managers to formal proposals, which are voted on by all shareholders at a company's annual general meeting. Shareholder activists also employ a variety of offensive tactics to force changes in a corporation. For example, they might make strategic use of media channels in order to publicize their demands and prompt greater pressure from other shareholders. They may also threaten companies with lawsuits if they're not allowed to have their say. Some of the issues addressed by shareholder activists are for social change, requiring divestment from politically sensitive parts of the world, for example, greater support of workers' rights, i.e. ending sweatshop labor, and more accountability for environmental degradation. Shareholder activists work to encourage or force firms to demonstrate a commitment to corporate social responsibility. This responsibility can take the form of environmental concerns such as climate change or governance, boardroom diversity. Some of the companies targeted have had direct negative impacts on people's health and well-being, such as big tobacco, big oil companies, for which they were challenged at shareholder meetings until change was achieved. By now, you might be thinking this is a great idea and we should run straight to all these meetings and ask all the CEOs everything they know about UFOs. Well, hold on a minute, we're not quite there yet. We have to discuss exactly how this is done, and there's a couple of catches. And before we get started describing how this is to be done, our friends over at the Ask an Alien Project legal department have reminded us that we have to make a couple of very big disclaimers here. First, what we are describing in this video is not intended whatsoever to constitute investment advice in any way, shape, or form. Next, always consult a licensed investment professional before engaging in any form of investment activity. And finally, this video is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. Whew. Well, now that that's out of the way, thanks legal, we can describe how this would actually unfold. Anyone can attend a special or annual general meeting of a publicly traded corporation if they are the owner of at least one share of stock in the company. So there are two options to make this happen. The first and easiest solution would be if we can locate someone inside the UFO and UAP community who is currently a shareholder of Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, or any other major defense or aerospace company that can be identified as having a reasonable likelihood of being a defense contractor working on recovered exotic materials. You need to own at least one actual share, which can be held in electronic certificate form, but it's not going to work if it forms part of a mutual fund, such as what you might have in your retirement plan, 401k, RRSP. It has to be an individually held stock. If you're watching this video and you're a current shareholder of one of these companies and are interested in pursuing this, please contact us directly or leave a message in the comments below. The second and more complicated method would be if a UFO or UAP activist wishes to take on this project and goes out to buy at least one share of one of these companies so that they can be registered and able to attend a shareholder meeting. The main reason why this is more complicated is simply because of the valuation of these companies. We took a look at the most recent trading day when we were making this video, and the individual share price of one stock of Lockheed Martin closed at $445.98 US. The least expensive stock in our group selected was Raytheon at $100.17 US. Buying one share in these companies would be a significant barrier to entry for many people in our community. Hence, why finding someone who is an existing shareholder would be far more preferable. So let's say we've overcome this problem and we have a UAP activist who's a shareholder of one of these companies and wants to go to the annual general meeting. Now, normally these meetings are done in person, so you might have to travel, but due to the pandemic, the majority are being conducted online. That makes participation so much easier. With regards to Lockheed Martin, their next meeting will be held on Thursday, April 21st, 2022 at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, if we have any interested participants. But if we don't make this one, never fear, there will be others in the future, and there's other companies to investigate as well. At these meetings, there will be voting on various business items and voting for who sits on the board of directors, but we are most interested in the question and answer session. We should point out that respectful, rational, and peaceful participation is the only way we will be taken seriously on this issue, so let's ensure that any such questioning is done in a polite and respectful manner. So here are some of the unidentified aerial phenomena related questions that we would like to ask the CEO and the entire board of directors of an aerospace company which has a history of doing top secret research work for the US and other allied governments. Have you been consulted with regards to any contact whatsoever with craft that are not readily identifiable as being of human origin? When did you first receive recovered crash materials from the US government to study in greater detail? What trademarks or patents have you received as a result of such work on recovered exotic materials? Have you participated in the declassification of any documents relating to unidentified aerial phenomena or crashed non-human vehicles, and if so, where are those documents stored? What research is your firm currently, or have been previously, undertaking with regards to any of the unidentified aerial phenomena that we have seen in the Tic Tac, FLIR, or Gimbal UAP videos as released by the US Navy? Are any of the sensor systems that your company produces capable of observing, tracking, and recording any unidentified aerial phenomena? How much of our fellow shareholders' capital is being expended towards research projects regarding unidentified aerial phenomena or recovered exotic materials? Are you now, or have you ever, been withholding information from the public regarding unidentified aerial phenomena? And those questions would be just for starters. Now, considering all the stigma and cover-ups and belittling that our community has seen over the decades, it's not realistic to expect the CEO of any of these companies to stand up and declare their long-standing involvement in piecing together crashed alien spacecraft. Moreover, they're highly likely to deny any involvement whatsoever and say that they cannot comment, we'll get back to you later, sorry they couldn't be of more help, etc., etc. That's okay. That's no problem at all. Because getting disclosure from the floor of the meeting isn't the point. First, we will get them on the record expressing their views on their company's work regarding UAPs and UFOs. If later it is found out by future disclosure that they were being anything less than completely forthcoming and sincere, that could constitute lying at a shareholder meeting. Telling a lie at a shareholder meeting isn't simply a really bad idea. It could be considered material evidence of criminal deception by executives of a publicly traded company, for which those friendly folks over at the Securities and Exchange Commission Enforcement Branch might not take too kindly to. The The second, and perhaps more important point for all this, is to get this line of questioning picked up by the business media, who will certainly be present at the annual general meeting of major corporations like these. There will be representatives from Bloomberg News, CNBC, the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Post, the Financial Times, and on and on. There will also be corporate analysts from all the major investment banks such as JP Morgan Chase, BNP Paribas, Credit Suisse, Bank of America, BMO Nesbitt Burns, CIBC Mellon, and so on. There will also be representatives from all the major credit rating agencies such as Fitch, Standard & Poor's, Moody's Investor Services. And not to mention all the defense and aerospace industry trade journals there, such as Aviation Week, Plane and Pilot Magazine, Aerospace Manufacturing Design, Combat Aircraft, or any other trade journal and publication, blog, podcast, or website that is interested in what these corporations do on a daily basis. Hopefully someone in that group will find that there is a story to be told and is worthy of deeper investigation. If we find an angle of inquiry where shareholders' interests are involved, we might just get the mainstream business media to pick up the story, research it in depth, and amplify it far and wide. As well, investigative journalists can smell a cover-up miles away, much like a shark can sense blood in the water. This is our goal, or perhaps better said in our community, this is the way. Speaking of research, if you're working in this field, we'd like to learn from you and help you amplify your work to a broader audience. Please feel free to contact us directly or in the comments below. Also, in addition to the usual asking for people to like and subscribe to our channel, which is a really good idea as we're just getting started, please let us know what questions you would want to ask an alien if you could sit down and have an interview with them. So thank you et merci, and we'll see you next time on the Ask an Alien Project.